Hi guys, and welcome to Taylor Talk. Today I'll be reviewing Season 1, Episode 4, Dogs. Marcus is staring at freshly made donuts in a random cafe shop window. Apparently, Ritchie borrowed money from a guy called Cicero. Sorry guys, I've just been upstairs, that's why I'm huffing and puffing. So Ritchie couldn't pay this guy back, and now himself and Carmy are having to cook for Cicero's kid's birthday party. When Ritchie said administrative correspondence, I was like, stop turning me on with that business language, Ritchie. Cohorts, administrative correspondence. What is that? I've never heard Ritchie say anything like that. So this is also the first time, in my opinion, that we see Marcus's little crush on Sydney, and this is when he asks her to try chocolate cake. Obviously, I think he was inspired by the donut shop, and Sydney likes his cakes. What I love in this episode is Sydney and Tina are clashing. I love Tina. She's actually my favourite character. She's such a great antagonist for Sydney in this season. So as Jimmy and Ritchie meet, I'm thinking, is Cicero Jimmy? Is that his nickname, his gangster nickname or whatever? And it's just so funny when Jimmy and Ritchie are arguing. They are so much alike and also extremely chaotic, while Carmy is literally stuck in the middle. So they get to work, they get set up for this kid's party, and Mr. Zersky gets confused between Carmy and Mikey, and he's like, didn't you kill yourself? And Carmy was like, that was my brother. And Mr. Zersky doesn't even say anything. He doesn't even apologize. What's Richie's vendetta with ketchup? Back at the bear, back at the beef, we have Marcus talking about his connection with donuts, and I'm surprised that he hasn't visited cake shops just for advice. We also meet Marcus's really happy, really chipper roommate called Chester, who is a designer of some sort and is a hugger, which Sydney didn't really like. But this is Chester, Marcus's roommate, and he's a very happy guy. So Ibrahim talks quickly to Sydney, and I'm thinking that maybe Marcus's chocolate cake wasn't as good as it looks. It looks like everyone in the beef gang rather, is getting used to Sydney being the deputy and used to Sydney leading the gang, apart from Tina. Tina is not happy and she's constantly pissed at Sydney and lets her know it. I love Fack and Marcus's relationship. Okay, so back at the kids' party, Jimmy's kids' party, this Frank dude, I don't know whether he's a family member or a friend of the family or whatever he is. This Frank dude is a total fucking asshole for that loser comment, basically embarrassing the shit out of Carmy in front of friends and family. Pete also tries to stick up for him, but he also sounds like a dick. To me, it also sounds like he's making fun of Carmy. Jimmy and Ritchie, over having their wires crossed, appear to make up. Back at the beef, Sydney is correcting Tina. Nobody likes Pete at the party at all. It goes back and forth to each world. So Pete lets it slip a few secrets to Carmy, but it looks like he's going to throw up, much like Nat should have been here, but she didn't want to go because she was pissed at Carmy. And Carmy never returns her calls. After Pete takes a drink, he looks like he's going to throw up, and the party kids are all passed out, and Ritchie and Carmy are very confused. So Carmy does some investigating and finds the Xanax bottle, Ritchie's Xanax bottle, in the cooler. So they've basically drugged the kids. The whole bottle is in the cooler, and I'm just thinking, did Ritchie do it on purpose? Did he do it, did he do it to cause some trouble? And watching it again, Ritchie was looking for the bottle, and I think it accidentally just fell out of his pocket, and they ended up drugging the kids. Back at the beef, Tina is fucking up food and getting stressed out. Maybe it's her karma for what she did to Sydney's pot in the last episode of Brigade. Speaking of Sydney, she saves Tina's ass by making more milk so that Tina can cook her potatoes because Tina burnt her milk. We find out a little bit more about Jimmy's history with Carmy's father. Jimmy also warns Carmy about the beef not being the be all and end all, and that he can give up and he can give it to Jimmy if he wants, because that is Jimmy's business. And Jimmy says, if you want to give it back to me, if you want to sell, I'm all for it. So Sydney tries Tina's potatoes, and Tina knows that they're bad, but Sydney says that they're good and says that she can serve them. And I'm just thinking, is Sydney being overly nice to get Tina's approval? Because we all know those potatoes were probably trash. After Tina sees Sydney's professionalism, it's like she finally gets Tina's respect after that. I feel so sorry for Ritchie and Carmy having to drive Pete home. Pete is an entire mess. I can see he's really is punchable. I do agree with Jimmy. After a late night, after a day of this kids' party and everything going to hell, Jimmy also knocks off the dead. So after they do the kids' party, he knocks off $2,000 off the $300,000 debt. So that's a plus. Ritchie and Carmy get home tired and hungry, and and after hosting the kids' party, they actually haven't eaten themselves. So Ritchie and Carmy get back to the beef gang, and they enjoy some chocolate cake made by Marcus. Carmy is so impressed by the cake that he calls Marcus chef for the first time. Notes. So guys, I didn't like this episode as much as the rest of them. This Dogs is my least favourite. It's nice seeing Ritchie and Carmy mess around instead of argue all the time. Is Cicero Jimmy? Is that his gangster? Is that his mafia? Is that his hood nickname? I don't know. Oliver Platt as Jimmy is killing it. He's amazing. And as long as the kids weren't dead and they were just passed out, he was okay with whatever they were doing. Frank, the family member or the friend that called Carmy a loser, is a piece of shit. They all know that he lost his brother and that they lost Mikey recently. They probably all know that he's a fancy chef that's working in upscale places. So why did Frank have to be a fucking arse? Why call Carmy a loser in front of everybody when he's clearly not? Frank embarrassed Carmy in front of his whole family. It was so unnecessary and such a shitty thing to do. And that scene just made me irrationally angry. Frank is an asshole. He has no fucking manners and no respect. And I just didn't like the way he spoke to Carmy at all. I think my favourite character is Tina Marrero, played by Lisa. Let's take a look. Lisa Colleon Zayas. Right, she's right. Yep. She's also married to Angel from Dexter. That's the guy who played Angel in Dexter. David Zayas, I think his name is. And what I love about Tina is that she's so realistic. She's so complex. She's stubborn but needy. She's very set in her ways, but underneath it all, she's desperate to try stuff and desperate to be something new. The last scene of Tina eating alone at the end of Dogs was absolutely amazing, because she's looked down on Sydney and treated her like shit ever since she got there. And now she finally sees how professional Sid is and how Sid is a chef and how Tina is a cook. She's not a proper chef like Sydney is. And what I've come to realize watching this episode is that Sydney and Carmy are the only chefs. The rest of the gang are cooks. So the cooks are kind of like amateurs. They're okay. They can cook basic, they can cook sandwich food, paninis, wraps, omelets, pasta dishes, stuff that doesn't take too much effort, but they're cooks. Sydney and Carm are chefs. They're professional chefs. And I think Tina resents Sydney for that. So Tina knows in this episode that Sydney has just been professional, courteous, and talented throughout. And I think Tina, as she was sitting down at the end, is starting to regret a lot of the things that she's done and realise how jealous of Sydney she is. I feel like maybe in another life, Tina years ago could have been Sydney, but maybe opportunities didn't come her way, or maybe back then she didn't have the money or she didn't have the drive to go to culinary school. And I think she's taking a lot of frustration out on Sydney because, like Ritchie, one, she's jealous, and two, she hates change. Tina is played by Lisa Colionzeas, and I think Lisa has been absolutely amazing in every scene that she's been in. Tina is such a realistic, gritty character, and she's my favourite character currently. So, guys, that was a short review. What did you think of the episode? Who is your favourite character in The Bear? Let me know in the comments. If you're still here, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening.